it's a thorough evaluation of the entire system. In practice world, it's one other area. Is that clear? People get stuck on this sometimes. They're like, well, how many spots are we supposed to visit? Just one. So just get the transition. What's important is we get that transition language down. And that's not, is it okay if I look at the panel next? Right? You see where that's coming from? I'm very likely to get a no with that because there's zero confidence in that question. All right, I've got a good handle on what's going on here. The next thing I need to see is the panel. Can you show me where that is? Entirely different form of question. So you're not asking permission to go further, you're transitioning. You're telling them where you need to go and you're getting their help to take you there. That's the difference, okay? So I got a good handle on what's going on here. Can you show me to the, is your transition station, okay? Then you move here, you ask some more questions. Okay, here we are at the main water shutoff, here we are at the indoor equipment, or here we are at the thermostat. Ask some more questions. And remember to focus these on the person as much as possible, okay? You'll go back and forth and simple questions aren't bad, but keep them on the person. At some point in this process, you're going to introduce price transparency. All right? And here with your customer, it can be yellow, it can be red, however you want to deal with that. You and your learning partner decide that in advance and then deal with it as it comes up. If the customer's going to bring it up, fantastic. Let's make price transparency super simple. Let's keep it really uniform. So it will only come up after we've done the secondary in all cases. All right? So we're going to visit the kitchen sink and we're going to have that conversation, then we're going to go to the water heater and we're going to have that conversation, and then we're going to do price transparency. So it looks exactly like the book shows. Is that clear? And then from that, you've done the price transparency, they've had whatever reaction they've had, and remember it could be as much as this, it could be as low as this. If we just fix it today, it's going to be this much, and you could be anywhere in between. Most customers would be in a range of $3,000 to $5,000, whatever the heck that happens to be for you. Okay, that's price transparency. And then transition to present. Thank you for the good information. I'm going to head out to my truck, put some options together. I'll be out there about 10 or 15 minutes. It's a great chance to call Mrs. Jones if you want to do that. And when I come back in, we'll go over some options together, and I'll get your approval on what you want me to get done. Before I head out, what questions do you have?
My wife did also mention that me saying, now would be a good time to call your husband to, go over this. She said she didn't want to call her husband twice.
Okay.
For an estimated value or a definitive value.
Okay. Okay, so that's good feedback. And so remember that the language that I've always used with this is, this would be a great time to have, to have that conversation with your spouse if you want to. And I've had plenty of people take me up on that. So they can kind of catch them up on the process. Okay. And then I also include, and by the way, I'm completely cool with having them in on the conversation when we get the options in front of us. So make sure that they're available. If they're available for speakerphone conversation or for FaceTime, let know that I'm completely comfortable with that. Okay. And I welcome that. Okay. So again, just giving them there's options again. You can call them now and bring them in, or you can just bring them in, or whatever you want to do with that. Or it's irrelevant. You're just going to make this decision without them. I'm good with that.
I guess I'm a little confused on assessing the initial situation. So for HVAC, we have to check throughout the whole system, indoor and outdoor. If we take them outside, I've got a handle on the initial situation.
Yep.
Your next step is to take them to the indoor, but we already know where the indoor is. I'm confused on how, hey, I've got a handle on things here.
Yep.
You mind taking me to the indoor and I need to ask you a few questions that?
Yeah, so
we already know where the indoor
we've
is.
been at the outdoor and we've asked the questions.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good. I got a good handle on everything that's happening here. So the next thing I need to see is the indoor equipment. Can you take me to that?
Well, we've already been there because we have to do a thorough evaluation to find out what's going on.
Okay, so then if you've been at the indoor equipment, then if that's where you started, right, then that would be box number 1. So in the world that I'm looking at, I'm saying, like literally, I showed up at your house and you said the air conditioner was dead and you took me to the outdoor equipment. So that's where I started. I haven't seen indoor equipment yet.
Yeah, but for us to find out what's going on, we've already found out where the indoor and the outdoor is. So I guess I'm missing something.
So where are you starting? When you get to that customer's home, the explore step, what's the first place you're going to go?
I'd say we'll go to the indoor.
Okay, so then that's situation number 1 for you then.
Okay.
Okay, so you're asking some questions there. So then your question is simple. All right, got a good handle on what's happening here. Can you show me to the outdoor equipment now?
But how do we know what's going on? We don't have a handle on anything. You just showed me the indoor. I'm missing.
Yeah, all right. right, so let's back up.
Yeah, so if your air handler's running, but your condenser's not coming on, hopefully you have a good inclination of why that situation would happen, so you're gonna go
Yeah,
to
that's
this.
typically, maybe it might just be an overflow switch.
Exactly.
Right, so, but
But you're
you
still
don't
gonna go
know that,
outside
so I'm
and-
not gonna say, hey, I've got a handle on things, I haven't even opened this thing up.
Right, so, and for the sake of the practice, the assumption is you've done that work. Okay, so I'm skipping the whole diagnostic process because we can't do that here, right?
Okay.
Put gauges on something, check something out, test it, we're not doing that here for practice. So we're skipping straight to, I've done some diagnosis and I know what's happening.
Okay.
So whatever that is for you, you've done that now. And you're going to the questions.
So this basically happened already after my diagnosis. You read it, and then you go and check everything, and then you basically come to this. So you not necessarily taking the customer.
Are you following?
Yeah, the question though is, do you mind taking me to the outside? I already know where it is, so why am I gonna tell that guy to take me out there when I already know where it's at?
No, it's not because you don't know where it's at, it's because you want them with you.
I got it. Alright, so
That
I'm
makes
just
sense?
thinking, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, so the next thing I need to see is the outdoor equipment. Can you go with me to that?
Alright,
That's
but I
different.
can reword that a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, so I get where you're
Yeah.
hung up. So thanks for sticking with us through that. That's good.
No, but you said it, you want the customer to take you where you want to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, even though I know where it is, I still want them to come with me because I need to ask you questions.
After asking the question, do you mind following me to the outdoor air conditioner
Yes.
so I can ask you approval questions?
Yeah, let's go to the outdoor, next thing I need to see is the outdoor condenser. And so come with me, let's go out there and I'll have some questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah? All right, good. All right, so we're gonna do this again, splitting off with just our learning partner and practicing the explore step and the explore step only. Just before we do need to actually look at a curbside. I wanna make sure that we've done the list as well as pictures. So let's quickly zip down that curbside, back to page 14 of your road guide. Yeah, we're gonna have books shuffling all over the place right now. It's fun stuff. There is a curbside at the back of your participant manual. If you just wanna use this one, you can. I just like the graphics lighters thinner, and you've got the cheat notes in here for them. We'll use that later on. Explore, address the initial situation first, that's box number 1. Lifestyle and symptom questions, we're gonna be doing that in both the initial situation and the thorough evaluation, right? Box 1 and 2. Thorough evaluation of the system is box number 2. Price transparency we've talked about. Captured the customer's words on the summary findings worksheet. For the sake of the practice, you can just pretend to be doing that. Okay, so have that in front of you and pretend to be capturing their words as you go through it. Frequently check in with the customer. What does that mean? How would you do that? Yeah, right, don't disappear for an hour, and furthermore, what questions can you ask the customer to make sure that you're checking in with them? What questions do you have about this before we move on? That's it, right? That's your check-in. Check in often with your customer, make sure that you're doing that as you're going through, and then transition to present, which is I need to go into my truck. This is a good chance to call your spouse, make sure they know that they can join in on the conversation when we go through the options. Couple questions, yes?
While I'm evaluating, a lot of times when I'm doing my evaluation, the customer's usually always there with me regardless. I like to just keep, I guess I could say a personal conversation just flowing as
Absolutely.
I'm going through it. That's okay, right? I don't have to
100%,
stick
yes.
to this
The,
work.
and some people get really nervous and uncomfortable with the customer hanging over their shoulder. Learn to love it. Because those are the dudes that are gonna spend the most with you. If you can just stay connected with them. And you're awesome, and you're actually awesome. They're gonna get it. Yeah, that's right. And even if you get stuck and something happens and you, like, this isn't textbook and oh my gosh, you did something weird and this isn't, like, just be transparent. Like, this is very unusual. I haven't seen this. I'm gonna do this test a different way, right? Like, just be transparent, because you're gonna figure it out. You know that, right? You're awesome. So be awesome and let the customer enjoy that. Like, I've had guys say that, okay, I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna check the equipment. So just give me about 10 minutes alone down there so I can just, like, no. Wrong. No. You wanna come, is it okay if I come with? Yeah, please do. Yeah, hang out with me. Yeah, hold the flashlight for me, right? Hold the meter for me. Who does that? I'm gonna put the gauges on and I'm gonna flip the switch and then this thing's gonna happen and I want you to tell me what's the high point, where does the amp show when I hit this? Right, then they tell you like, oh, 32. Seriously, 32? Okay, let me see that. Let me do that again, right? You have this whole conversation with him. And they're looking at it and they're like, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? They're really confused. Well, 32 amps, like, okay, let's go to the breaker for a minute. How many amps is the breaker? 15, okay? So your motor took 32 to fire up right now. And I've had this happen, you've had this happen, right? Where it gets that spike of 32 and then it settles in at 7 or 8 or whatever it is. This motor's done, right? We know that. Like 32, the only reason the breaker didn't trip is because it was such a short time, but that's a lot of power to get it. So now you have that whole opportunity to have that conversation with customers. Keep them present as much as possible. Other questions about this board?
I just want to say, you said check in often.
Check in on.
So now 20 minutes has passed, you plan on checking in, what would you say is a good way of doing that?
If 20 minutes has passed and they haven't been with me at the equipment,
Right.
then I'm just gonna come back to them and I'm gonna just say, listen, I've been looking at the thing, I've got a pretty good handle on what's going on. Let me ask you a few questions, so I'm gonna go in through the questioning and then just stop there and say, do you have any questions about the process so far? What questions can I answer about what we've talked about so far? Right, and just stop and just like model back what I've been doing this for you the whole time. Right, I give you a whole bunch of information and I know that we're gonna hit some point of overload, and then I just stop and say, what questions do you have? And I don't even care if you don't have questions, but I'm giving you a chance to process. Right, just to catch up and get the stuff in your brain sorting and doing all this stuff. Allow that stuff to happen. You've had this model to you now for two and a half days. Just do it. Do it. I just stop. What questions do you have? I'm not kidding. The guy got a 30% increase in his average ticket by asking that one stinking question. That made that big a difference. Because it forces you to stop. It gets the customer to actually think. It's critical. What further questions do you have about this before we move into practice? All right.
There's no formal dialogue that, for us to follow on this one. There is no greeting, but not on this one.
Yeah, in the greeting, there's some specific steps that guide the dialogue. This is about asking questions, and that's what makes this one a little bit more challenging, because you have to actually get into that customer's world and start asking them good questions. So really watch for that. But what were the two critical points in the explore step? Price transparency and asking questions, yes. So that's what we're watching for. As you're doing this practice, those are your two there, Carter. Those are your two critical points in the explore step, asking questions and hitting that price transparency. And the types of questions we're asking is, do you love it? Do you hate it? How much do you use it? Right? What would you make different? If you could make this anything, like if you could improve it in some way, what would you do? Those types of questions are going to unlock all kinds of opportunity for you. All right, I want to get you back to work here. I'm done talking. Find your learning partner, find a space in the room to work. Explore step only. Greet is gone. Delete it.